Every street gang in the world, no matter where they are, runs on the exact same quiet law. Whether outsiders ever catch on to it or not, there are 5 ranks. And here's the thing, only the one man who actually survives all 5 truly understands what each single step cost him. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a very dark, very real climb through a criminal underworld. We're going to trace the absolute, terrifying cost of surviving those 5 ranks. A cost that's paid not in cash, but literally in pieces of who you used to be.
You know, what's totally fascinating here is that this descent, it doesn't kick off with some massive Hollywood-style shootout. No, it starts with a corner, a block, and a decision made by a kid who has absolutely no idea what he's actually signing up for. You end up trading away versions of yourself, just trying to become something hard enough to survive what's coming. So let's step into those shoes for a minute and walk through the reality of this climb.
Let's get right into it. Rank 1, the Shorty. The first test.
At this stage, you're not really in the set yet. You're young, you're completely untested, and honestly, you are incredibly vulnerable. The older guys, they are watching you like a hawk. They're looking to see how you handle that very first real test of this life. And by the way, it's a test nobody actually bothers to explain to you ahead of time. Your first job is going to feel almost beneath mentioning. Stand on this corner, watch out for people who don't belong here, run this package to a specific address, don't ask any questions, and totally forget the face of whoever handed it to you. Sounds simple, right? Well, simple is never actually simple once you grasp the stakes. See, every tiny favor they hand you is a debt that gets quietly recorded, and they're going to collect exactly when you're at your absolute weakest. They are testing you. Before they trust you with these little errands, just watching how you carry yourself when nobody is out there protecting you.
It all just seems like basic street protocol at first. But then comes the night that changes the whole game. You're told to stand somewhere and just look away when something happens nearby. You don't ask what it is. And standing there with your back completely turned, hearing something you can't even see, suddenly you understand the life you've stepped into. You pass this test by staying entirely invisible in the one moment that mattered most. Silence, basically, becomes your very first real skill. Weeks bleed into months, and slowly you realize you've stopped flinching at the things that used to keep you up all night.
And when that flinching finally stops, well, that is exactly what the older guys have been waiting for. An older member is going to pull you aside and say the words that officially mark the point of no return. You're ready to put in real work now. Listen, there is absolutely no going back to being that kid on the corner once you hear that.
Which brings us right to rank 2, the soldier, moving when called.
The shift into this second rank actually happens really quietly. You mostly just feel it in how people on the block start treating you completely differently. You are now officially part of something that you cannot just quietly walk away from. As a soldier, you're trusted, sure, but you also stop choosing your own risks. You are expected to move the literal second you are told without a single moment of hesitation. It's an obligation that is stronger than blood and definitely stronger than any promise you made to yourself before all this madness started.
So, your first real job, it isn't running a package anymore. Now it's about sending a message to a set that somehow forgot whose block this actually is. A rival set decides to test your block one night, and you were sent to answer. And we're not talking about answering with words. You answer with something far heavier. You come back from that night different. You're quieter. You're harder. Rivals definitely remember your face now. And the shot caller right above you, he's watching closely to see if fear or ambition wins out in your head. Spoiler alert, ambition wins. And that's exactly the answer he needs, because moving up to the next rank requires someone who will not hesitate when it truly matters.
So let's look at rank 3, shot caller. Calling the shots.
What the source material reveals here is that leadership arrives a whole lot faster than you might think. All of a sudden, you're the one calling the shots for a whole crew. But guess what? Every mistake lands squarely on your name first. Every single deal goes right through you. And running a crew isn't just about walking around and stealing fear. It is a massive psychological burden. You're suddenly managing pride, loyalty, and the sheer greed of men who would gladly step right over you to take your spot the second you show a hint of weakness. The text highlights a really pivotal moment. One of your own guys starts quietly skimming from a deal. Now you're forced to make a brutal choice. Handle it or completely lose your authority in front of everyone who's watching. So, you handle it.
That creates this immediate power dynamic. Word spreads like wildfire, and nobody skims from you ever again. But here's the flip side. Nobody looks at you the same way either. And then comes the terrifying cost of this rank. A rival set tests your territory, and you hold it, sure, but in the process, you lose someone who came up with you from day one. A genuine, true friend. But in this life, Grief is treated like a fatal weakness, so you learn incredibly fast to just bury it. You hide it, because the OG above you has definitely noticed your control, and he is quietly grooming you for something much, much bigger.
All right, moving on to rank 4, the Enforcer, second in command.
You have officially arrived as second in command. Every member respects you, absolutely no question, but every single shot caller below you quietly wants your spot. As the Enforcer, you're sitting in on every real decision. You are privy to secrets that could literally get you killed if they were ever repeated outside those walls. You are holding the entire weight of the set's survival on your shoulders. Other shot callers will start testing your loyalty, maybe dropping subtle hints that the set might just run a bit better under you instead of the OG. But you shut every single treacherous offer down cold. Why? It's not just out of blind loyalty. It's because you have seen exactly what happens to men who reach for power way too soon.
Then, a very real threat gets made against the OG, and you step up to protect him. But when he thanks you privately afterwards, you notice something. His eyes have changed. It turns out gratitude and suspicion look almost completely identical from the very top. You suddenly realize that holding this much weight, having this much capability, actually makes the Enforcer the most incredibly dangerous rank in the entire set.
And finally, we reach the summit. Rank 5, the OG, absolute control.
So the old OG steps back, for one reason or another, and the position you used to fear now belongs entirely to you. But man, this is the ultimate trap. Sure, you control everything now, the territory, the respect, life and death. But you quickly learn that control was never the same thing as peace. Every shot caller beneath you gives you that respectful nod, but you know exactly what that nod can hide, because hey, you used to be the one doing the nodding. The paranoia at this level is just suffocating. The nights might get quieter, but getting any actual sleep becomes completely impossible. Because at the top, silence isn't peace at all. It is literally just the calm before some unseen enemy makes their move.
Let's walk through this timeline, which is essentially a timeline of inevitable collapse. Days in, you make your first real call to expand the territory, and it works. Beautiful. But a few months later, a resurfaced rival comes out of nowhere and offers a truce. Deep down, you know for a fact it won't hold. But your exhausted set essentially forces your hand. You accept it, because a set that's exhausted from endless conflict is a set that's already losing. And then, a few years later, that doomed truce is finally shattered. But the crazy part? It isn't broken by the rival. It's broken by someone very close to you, right from within your own ranks.
Which brings us to the suffocating climax of our explainer today. The inevitable fall, fracturing from inside.
That realization that your whole empire is fracturing finally hits you. But of course, you find out way too late. One of your very own enforcers has been talking, to rivals, to the police, to literally anyone offering a way out. It is an absolutely devastating betrayal by someone you trusted implicitly. The set you built with your own two hands is fracturing from inside its own ranks, and now you are backed into a corner, forced into the exact same doomed choice that every single OG before you has eventually faced.
You have to choose, hold on with pure force or step back before it's violently taken from you. You choose to hold on, which is the exact same choice that ended every OG before you. And the walls just violently close in. Old rivals, old debts, old promises, they all arrive at your doorstep at the exact same time.
The stark, brutal reality presented in this source material is that in this life, there is simply no retirement plan. There is only the next rank or the ending that every single rank was always leading toward. Sitting up there, where every OG eventually sits, you are forced to think back to that Shorty who once stood so nervously on that street corner. And you really can't help but wonder, when exactly did that kid disappear? Because the truly terrifying truth is that every single rank asked for something you could never get back. Your time, your trust, your people, and literal pieces of who you used to be. But the set itself, the set doesn't end when you fall. No, it only ends when it can't find anyone willing to start at rank 1 again. Somewhere out there tonight, another Shorty is standing on a corner, already being tested, already being watched, and he is entirely unaware of what rank 5 is eventually going to cost him.
5 ranks, 1 set, and only one truth that every single one of them learns the exact same hard way. So, I have to ask you, looking at everything we've just unpacked today, knowing everything this life systematically strips away from a person, which rank would you have stopped at?